Welcome to the oddest little podcast on the internet. We are the Odd Pod. What's going on? My name's Stacey Kruger. Who are you boys?
The oddest little podcast. I'm casually challenged.
Brad Hazard. Nothing witty.
I'm Robbie, and the weird numbers on my computer changed. Now it's a 2018.
Oh, no. And we have someone new in studio, and I just smacked his microphone because he's sitting so close to me. I'm used to being animated and throwing my arms all around, and I just damn near backhand him. Who is this weird person next to me?
I'm Ryan. I was told to say
that. Just, hi, I'm the... Oh, God, what was I supposed to say again? Okay, I'm Ryan.
Line.
And meanwhile, you see the producer in the other room waving around frantically, like, say something.
I can tell you from working in TV, that's happened a number of times.
Well, Stacey finally lost it and took someone hostage.
Yeah. Shut up, don't you say your goddamn thing, Ryan. Anyway, yes, he's my friend, right? You're my friend.
Friends to the end. Help me. I mean, wonderful day.
Oh, Jesus. Yes, I decided to kidnap somebody and drag him in because I figured our little podcast here could use a fifth. Right?
Note to anyone that is listening, he did not actually kidnap anyone. That is satire. Please do not call the police.
Yeah. I'm calling the police. 911. Hello. Yes, I want to complain about somebody on the internet. Click. So it is a new year, though, guys. New year, new me, or as I would say it, new year. I don't really give a shit.
No, it's new year, new me. I killed the old Robbie.
Yeah, right. I was about to say, do you guys? First off, does anybody here, any of us, give a shit about New Year's resolutions?
Normally I don't, but I have made one this year, but I'm not going to go into it right now because it's kind of like a birthday wish. You can't say it out loud.
Oh, okay.
My New Year's resolution is the same as it is every year. Don't die.
That seems like a pretty good damn goal. Rad?
Resolutions exist to be torn down.
There you go. Ryan?
I don't believe in those, no.
See, same here. Like, I know that I remember seeing this wonderful little New Year's resolution. My New Year's resolution was to not get blowjobs anymore, but by 12:30 I had a dick in my mouth. So, that's kind of how I look at all New Year's resolutions. Yeah, I mean, of just, I'm going to quit smoking. Where the hell's my lighter at? It's silly. First off, why the hell did these things start? I mean, who the hell was just like, it's 1995. I'm not going to drink anymore. Where did I put my beer? It just seems silly, Well,
yeah, especially because 1995 I was 5.
They're good in concept most of the time, but I think it's about the intent. Like most people, they hear the term New Year's resolution and they either, like you, don't give a fuck, or they say, oh, I have to make a New Year's resolution because everybody else makes New Year's resolutions. If the intent behind it is, quote, honest, like for me, again, I never gave a crap about New Year's resolutions because I knew, like, you're just going to break that within a day.
Exactly.
But it could be not so much like people think of it as, oh, I have to make a complete change in my life with the New Year's. Well, yeah, or you could do like Robbie does and just resolve not to die this year. If the intent is, if you are honest with yourself about the intent, then I think a New Year's resolution is fine. But if you're just making it because everybody does it and you're not going to like keep it anyway, then who cares?
Yeah. Well, I see my New Year's resolution, actually I did make one, was to breed and make a new child, but apparently I was ahead of schedule on that one, so funny.
As usual.
Hey! Damn it.
You're always early, we know.
Just 2! Oh, honey, I'm sorry. Jesus. I didn't even get close to you this time. Did I ever tell you this? Oh, I better leave that story alone.
You don't bring something up like that and just say, oh, never mind.
Okay, so a gal friend of mine. This was not me, thankfully. I'm not that pathetic, okay? But she...
Yes, you are. Oh, sorry, I had
Hush your
something
mouth.
in
Casual, I know where you sleep. Don't fuck with me. No, but I was sitting there talking to this gal, and she was like talking about her ex-boyfriend. She was like, we're just, kind of drinking, and, once you start getting drunk, and this was years ago, obviously, because I was drinking, but once you start drinking, that becomes a truth serum. You're just like, well, let's just tell our life story and tell every little thing about me. I was just like, so how was he? She went, oh, he was awful. I was like, well, why'd you have a kid with him? She was like, I fell asleep, and he just kind of put a kid in me that night. Otherwise, they were always protected. Apparently, he was just in the mood in the middle of the night. Oh, great, now I'm pregnant. No, but she was like, yeah, one night he came walking to bed. He put the condom on, turned around, accidentally knocked a glass of orange juice off the end table, and there she blew. I mean, I love that Robbie was like, oh my God, what a schmuck. I mean, Jesus Christ. How excited do you have to be to go, orange juice, ah!
That's either desperate or really impressive.
Ryan's blushing. I think he's overachieved on this. He's like, I just looked at a door frame and blew. I don't know.
Well,
look, a
welcome to the
particle of
Odd Pod.
I looked at a particle. He was learning about molecules in class. I went, oh, God.
The curvature, they look like...
Damn it. Welcome to the Odd Pod, as Casual just said. Jesus Christ. So, let's get on to an actual topic. 2018. What are you guys looking forward to this year? Do you have any actual things you're looking forward to as far as movies go, TV shows go, video games, comic books, anything?
Fucking Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, you're looking forward to fucking the Avengers? I mean, I don't know if you can pull that off, buddy.
It's a lot of people on
I know, Jesus.
I can get for Iron Man's armor with just my penis.
Robbie is the cockmaster. That's his power. That's his name. That's his goal in life.
He's an X-rated X-Men.
But seriously, so X-Men, Avengers, Infinity War is what you're looking forward to this year.
Yeah, that's probably the main movie I'm looking forward to. I mean, it's one that I've been waiting for God knows, 10 years now.
Well, that's actually a great question. Do they plan on releasing one at the beginning of the year and then the second part at the end of the year, or are they going to wait like 3 or 4 years?
Okay, it's not a second one according to them. It's another movie, like
Avengers 4.
Avengers. So here's what happened with the Avengers movies, the Infinity War movies. Originally, it was going to be Infinity War Part 1 and Infinity War Part 2. But somewhere along the line, after multiple writers and directors and everything got involved in the project, currently the directors are the Russo brothers, who did the last
Winter Soldier was their first
Captain
one.
Americas, I think. Yeah. So they've got a good track record of putting an interesting movie together, and they seem to be capable of handling multiple characters because they did Civil War as well. That being said, what happened was once they got involved, they started. Well, I don't know if it was their script or they chose a writer's script or whatever. It was determined that the first movie is so different from the second movie that they are considering them two separate movies. So it's Infinity War and currently still unnamed Avengers 4.
Well, I mean, I guess I can't get that upset that they're trying to separate the two if they're that different. But Jesus Christ, how big of a U-turn did you have to do to change the movie that much?
Well, that's actually one of the things that I like about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is they aren't stuck in like they are not sticking to something to the detriment of its existence. They had a plan. Some of the things in that plan have changed. For instance, when they got the whole Sony Spider-Man rights thing done, they added a Spider-Man movie to the mix, and they wrote Spider-Man into the most recent movies. He wasn't a part of Infinity War. Now he is. they were going to do an Inhumans movie, then they weren't, then they did a TV series. It was awful. Don't watch it. Then they were going to do Infinity War as part 1 and part 2. Now it's not. Now that, I like that they are dynamic enough to be able to change things sort of on the fly. I say sort of because it takes like 3 years to make a movie, so has to be at least some plan. Whereas DC,
their plan kind of keeps changing.
they're either too dynamic or too rigid. I don't know which is.
Yeah.
They try so hard. That's the saddest part, especially as being a massive DC fan. It's so sad because they try so hard.
DC's
they do.
problem is too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
AKA Warner
the way I
Brothers
see-
executive management.
The way I see DC's plan is a quote from Legends of Tomorrow, and I don't know if I've said this before, but it's a line from a character called Captain Cold. It's make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, throw away the plan.
And that's actually what Marvel kind of does. Okay, getting into background Hollywood. Kevin Feige has been the one running the Marvel Cinematic Universe pretty much since its inception. Now, what Warner Brothers doesn't seem to understand is Kevin Feige is not a comic book guy. He is a movie producer. He is a guy that can put together a movie universe. Where DC has not been doing it right is Warner Brothers has assigned a director to lead the charge. Then they assigned a comic book guy to lead the charge. They currently have reassigned people again. Now they finally are putting a movie person in charge of the DC cinema, whatever it is. So maybe now they can get on the right track. The only problem is because each of their movies is basically not losing money, but because, Justice League is going to make like around $650 million worldwide. Now, you might say, wow, that's a lot. But it's not. They spent like $300 million on the movie alone, double that for the marketing. It's barely going to make its money back, and this was the movie of any movie that should have made like $4 billion. So they are trying to figure out what to do with DC, and I hope it succeeds because I like both. But I've completely derailed the whole what are you looking forward to in 2018.
Okay, so casual, thank you. Rad, is there anything you're looking forward to?
Aside from the Thanos dad bod, as I'm sure Stacy almost choked on his coffee. I think I'm just looking forward to see what video games have in store.
There's one particular video game I'm really actually looking forward to, and that would be the new Batman games coming out on the Switch. Like, I'm not looking forward to buying a Switch for it, but we all know me. I'm kind of a Batman freak. Hell, I'm wearing Batman PJs right now. Wow, thanks, guys. I'll just see myself out. Jesus. I have Batman onesies. I have Batman pajama pants. I have Batman shirt. I have a Batman codpiece on, actually. Would you want to see it, Ryan?
They know.
He slowly walked out of the room like, get the fuck out of here. But, I'm really looking forward to it because what I've heard about it, they haven't released too many details, at least what I've been able to find yet. But what I've heard about it should be a lot of fun. It looks like it's going to be along the same lines as the third person from the Arkham games. It's not going to be the same Arkham storyline, which really disappoints me. Really does, because I was hoping they would have continued after Arkham Knight with maybe Nightwing or Robin or something like that. Where he passed on the
mantle. If I'm wrong, but they weren't even supposed to do Arkham Knight. That they were like kind of done after Arkham City, but then it was so popular that they were like, oh, we have to do another one, and some other team did Origin, and then basically they force fed Arkham Knight to the company because they were like, money, 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 money.
And you know what? In all aspects, the game was good. Very, very good. I'm still to this day very upset about what they did with Arkham Knight because they promised us, we're going to give you a brand new villain, never before seen. I'm like, oh, man. I'm starting to get a bit of a chubby here. I was excited, right? And they're ramping up, and I start playing the game going, this feels a lot like somebody I've seen before. But okay.
Could it be the Joker again?
But no, it wasn't. And I'm like, okay, well, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm just overreaching on this. And I keep playing like, God, this feels a lot like Red Hood. And I'm playing more and more of it, and I'm going, Jesus Christ, they're talking a lot about Jason Todd. I wonder who the Arkham Knight is. And I'm not even joking. The second he pulled his his helmet off, and you saw Jason Todd's face, I threw my controller across the room, rage quit the game, and deleted it later on stream. I was like, are you fucking kidding me, Warner Brothers?
It is literally highlighted on Stacy's channel.
Yeah, it is. And I went on a good 10-minute rant about how fucking shitty Warner Brothers was for that. Not because... if they would have said, we revamped an old character, I would have been happy with it. Because you know what? They did a very good portrayal of the Red Hood, even with the rebrand. I liked it a lot. But the fact that they said it was a brand new character, I got pissed.
Okay. Now, to be fair, it was a brand new character to the Arkham series.
To the Arkham series, yes, but they meant what their exact words were: a brand new character to the franchise in general, like as in the Batman franchise.
But
Arkham Knight was technically a new name.
I'm pretty sure that they meant like to the Batman Arkham franchise. Like what you heard and what they were intending were two different things. Well, and what you heard in your mind was exactly what they were intending, because they marketing departments love to do that. They love to make people think that, oh, it's brand new, completely never been seen before, except in all this other media forms that we are not mentioning because it has nothing to do with this particular media form that we're doing, and so fooled you.
That's called marketing.
Let's
hype it up, get people excited so they buy it.
Now, if I remember correctly, I don't remember the name Arkham Knight from any of the comics. Am I just stupid for forgetting this name? But I don't remember that name in any of the comics. Does anybody?
No,
I
wasn't
don't
really in any of the
know
comics.
enough about it.
Okay, well, maybe they're like, well, we created a brand new name. That's new enough, right? I don't know. But nevertheless, the game itself was good. The controls were fantastic as long as you're playing on, console. But enough of my saltiness. It was a good game overall. So I'm really looking forward to the Nintendo Switch. The Batman games are coming to the Nintendo Switch. They should be good. I'm really looking forward to the new, Enemy Within. Batman Enemy Within series. The Telltale. There we go. That's what I was trying to think of. The Telltale games. Has anybody here played any of the Telltale games at all?
No, but I want to.
Ryan, have you or no?
Like any of the Telltale?
Yeah, like any of the Batman Telltale games.
Oh, no, not the Batman ones.
Okay, but you have played Telltale in the past?
I've played some of them. Yeah.
Okay, so you understand the general idea of how the games work. Go ahead, guys. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that Telltale Games are visual novels, essentially.
Yep.
Which is fine, but I did not like... Well, I played The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I had with The Walking Dead, and it's something that you just have to get used to, I assume, is I wanted to make certain choices, but the game said, no, you are going to make this choice or this choice. That's your only choice here. Like, for instance, there's various points in The Walking Dead where your main character has to make a choice whether or not to save or not save a person or whatever. And in my head, I could see a third option almost every time. And the game didn't present me with that third option, and I wanted to say, no, this isn't what I would do. So it kind of annoyed me, and despite the fact that by the end, yes, like everybody else, I got all the feels because, oh my word, that ending.
I still have not finished that game. I kind of gave up about an episode and a half in.
That's where I wanted to give up, but I am a glutton for punishment, so I pushed through. And by about the third episode, you just have like I said, for me it was the lack of choice. Like, the whole game is supposed to be about choices.
Yep.
But there were so few choices that I wanted to make that I like. When you're going through a story, you look at it and you go, oh, well, I could save this person or I could not save them. Or what if I did this instead? Then I could save them and not, it just annoyed me. But pushing through, the ending was awesome. And I understood that I wasn't playing my character. I was playing this character.
That's exactly what I was about to bring up when it comes to Telltale. I would say that, especially in the Batman, in the Jurassic Park one, and in the Back to the Future one, they nailed it perfectly because you were playing the role of that character. Like Batman, you're only allowed to choose certain ones. You're not allowed to turn tail and become, some brand new character. You're not allowed to play yourself necessarily. You're allowed to play Bats, and that's what I loved about it.
Right. And I think I probably would have enjoyed something like a Batman or a Back to the Future better because having watched the movies, read the comics, I would have been like, okay, I know why he's making these choices.
Very true.
This makes sense to me. But with The Walking Dead, it was original characters, and since there was no basis for how they should act, I had to use my own thought process. I had to say, well, I would want to do this in this situation. But instead, I had to, get into a mindset for a character that I didn't know. And it's hard to do that for me. If I don't know the character, then I am my own character, and stop making me make stupid choices. Plus, I will say that one has to, in The Walking Dead specifically, you have to go in knowing everyone is an idiot. Because that is actually mostly true of the comic, of the TV series, and of the games. Everyone is an idiot. If you go in knowing that, then some of the choices actually do make more sense because they're idiots.
How dumb are we talking here? Because it's been a long time since I played The Walking Dead. I guess, in Arkham, with the Batman Telltale, they're not as dumb because they had modeling to go off of with the comics and stories that were already established. So they kind of had to stay true to some of that.
Well, we're talking the kind of dumb where somebody in a zombie apocalypse, there are just certain things you don't do. And in The Walking Dead, they do these things all the time. So, again, they're just idiots, and you just have to accept that they're idiots, if you can accept that. But I would say, back to the topic at hand that we're still going off of constantly, I am looking forward to, in addition to Infinity War, I am looking forward to Far Cry 5.
Yes! As long as they don't fuck it up, it's going to be great.
They have a good track record, so I don't. That's one of the things I like about the Far Cry franchise is they don't make massive changes. It's not like Final Fantasy where they scrap the entire game, start over from scratch, and give you an entirely new mechanic every game. The Far Cry franchise is about small improvements.
Are you trying to make me salty here, Casual? Because I think you're trying to make me salty.
True. You can like them, but it's true. They just scrap everything and start over every time.
Sometimes that's good, though. I mean, scrapping everything in 12 and restarting over was a fantastic... Oh, wait, we got 13.
I was going to say, A, I like 12, and B, 13.
Sorry. I got a little sick there. 13, you know what the worst part about 13 is? Once you got 40 hours in, it was fantastic. Well... It was enjoyable. I can't even say fantastic. It was just enjoyable. About 30 to 40 hours. Ryan, is there any games or any movies, anything you're looking forward to as far as, nerd culture is going that's coming up in next year?
Red Dead 2, Sea of Thieves.
There's a Red Dead 2 coming out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where the hell have I been living? I haven't heard about this.
Under a rock.
Oh, go bloody...
Otherwise known as Minnesota.
He lives up the street from me! But, here's the thing about the first Red Dead. Does anybody remember those online bidding sites where you can, go buy something for a penny? Oh, look at these great deals. You get, BizBid or something like that, I think was one of them.
BZID and Deal Dash.
BZID, thank you. I went on BZID. I was like, oh my God, this looks terrible. It's going to take all my money. I'll sign up for the free account. Why the hell not? And my very first time signing up, I won a copy of Red Dead Redemption. And I decided to try it out. No, it was Red Dead, the non-zombie one. What was the non-zombie one?
That was Red Dead Redemption.
I thought the zombie one was called Red Dead Redemption. My bad. Anyway, I apologize. But yeah, I played it and I was like, I won this. I'm like, wait, this thing actually works? What? Weird. Okay. So I went and got this game and I played it. And I got about a half an hour in before going, I can't play this. The physics are so broken, I want to slap somebody with a fucking fish. I want to go find the creators of this game and beat them senseless with a trout. I want to go catch a northern pike out of our Great Lakes here in Minnesota and have it do a vicious attack on their face because the game was so broken. How could people play this game, or was that the point? I got attacked by so many rabid Kruger women, I'm not even joking. I was walking through the hills, and a cougar woman, a woman who was roaring like a cougar, was attacking me, which I get the jokes about this, but I don't think it was supposed to be there, because I looked it up. There was no cougar woman in the game, in the official game. I think this is a glitch where some woman, like the texture of a woman, took to a cougar and attacked me. And another time, my wheel, what the hell was it? The carriage. My carriage, which was drawn by a horse, just picked up massive springs and launched me to the fucking moon. What was wrong with this game?
Well, obviously you didn't live in the Wild West.
I think you got a bad copy. I mean, you did only pay a penny for it, so...
Well, I looked on YouTube, and apparently this was a problem that happened to a lot of people. It was a huge comedic relief thing, in the community where they're let's see how broken this game is. And a lot of people were doing this. I saw somebody riding a donkey, but it wasn't a donkey. It was actually a man who was neighing like a donkey running around. And this wasn't a modded copy. This is on console.
Yeah, I don't know what glitches you guys found, but my game experience was great.
Was I just that unlucky where I ran into every friggin' glitch?
I guess you were.
It sounds like a roaring good time.
I was like, well, if I would have gone in and expecting a glitch fest like Goat Simulator, it would have been a blast. But I was just trying to ride my fucking carriage in a race, because it was the very beginning, there was some race or something like that you were supposed to take part in. I couldn't complete it because I kept getting launched halfway across the map every time I hit a bump. I was so pissed. I'm not even joking, man. I was so angry. I was like, I can't complete this. The shocks of this thing are too much.
Pimp My Ride 1800 edition.
Pimp My Ride 1800 edition. Ugh.
I mean, I live out in the countryside, and occasionally horse and carriage will go past. I can confirm that is how they work.
Those be riding, hit a bump, driver goes fucking 50 miles out. Back to topic. Is there any information out about Red Dead 2 yet or no?
There's all I know is there is a trailer and it looks pretty good. I mean,
is it looking like it's going to be just kind of a part 2, like an exact copy, or is they going to drop it and start over?
They're not going to follow John Marston or anything, or his son anymore, I believe.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption is technically the second game. The first game was Red Dead Revolver. It was different. And with Red Dead Redemption, they went with the open world because that's become kind of Rockstar's thing. And they basically made it as honestly, it's one of the better stories overall that Rockstar has ever done. I actually gave a crap about the characters, and like by the end of it, I was like, no. And that's
You
that's
were like
not,
what? You were like what? Casual?
That's not usually the experience you get from an open world game. I don't usually play an open world game for the story. I play it for the world because that's what's fun in open worlds.
Yeah.
But this one had such an amazing story that I played through it like 3 times just for the story. I don't know if they'll be able to pull that off again with Red Dead Redemption 2. If they do, yay. You know, my biggest concern is, will it be on PC? Because Red Dead Redemption was never released on PC for some insane reason. And I really want to play Red Dead Redemption 2, but if it's not on PC, I'm not going to play it because I don't have the money for consoles.
That's a great question, actually. Why is it that video game companies still to this day have not opened their fucking eyes and went, hey, if we let everybody play this game, we can make more money? I mean, is it really worth that much money to them to get an extra boost from PlayStation or Xbox to say, only give it to us? I mean, you think it'll make more money overall.
Like, I mean, I can't imagine that it... I can't imagine that it would be viable for them to not release it on PC if they weren't making just boatloads of money or were somehow involved in an ironclad contract.
True. I would say because the same type of thing as Bloodborne. Because you look at Demon Souls, PS3, yeah, PS3 exclusive. Then it went to Dark Souls, and that was just like, everybody has this, and everybody's happy. From what I'm guessing, they made a lot of money because they made 3 of them. And then Bloodborne came out, and it was like, by the way, PlayStation again. Was that a contractual obligation where they're forced to into it? Or, you know, it just seems silly to me.
Well, Sony obviously gave them some amounts of money to make it an exclusive and develop the game. I don't know. Like Rockstar, I know for a fact that Red Dead Redemption wasn't, quote, exclusive because it came out on both of the major consoles of the time. It was on both the 360 and the, what do you call it? PlayStation 3. So it wouldn't have been exclusive in the same way that Bloodborne is exclusive. But this kind of goes into a topic of sorts that certain companies make very strange decisions sometimes. I would consider Rockstar's decision not to release Red Dead on PC a strange decision because it wouldn't have even if they had put out a bad port of the game, which they have done before. Grand Theft Auto 4, we're looking at you. People would still buy it. But they didn't do that for Red Dead Redemption. Now, there's another company that drives me insane when it comes to their policies of how they release games and who gets the games and what they do. And I'm sure there's business reasons for it. I'm not saying that there is no reason. I'm just saying it drives me crazy because I don't know what their reasons are, and that's Square Enix.
I love Square Enix most of the time.
Most
of the time.
There was a time when you could explain away why they didn't put a game out in America. Because back in the day when it was hard to translate games, you know, there were translation issues. They had to basically, in some cases, rebuild a game from the ground up almost. So we got Final Fantasy we got Final Fantasy IV, relabeled Final Fantasy II, and we got Final Fantasy VI, relabeled Final Fantasy III. Then by the time that Final Fantasy VII came out, it wasn't a problem anymore, and we started getting all the games. But Square Enix does things like, let's remake a game, and let's release it on almost all the platforms, but not quite all of them. Let's do an HD remake of this, and then let's stop doing HD remakes. Let's do a complete overhaul 3D remake of this game and the next game, and then we'll stop. Perfect example for me is on the PlayStation, after Final Fantasy VII became the biggest thing since individually wrapped sliced cheese, they started releasing the Final Fantasy anthology discs.
Yeah.
And the first disc was Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Completely remade, new graphics, fixed some glitches, whatever. The next one was Final Fantasy 4 and Chrono Trigger.
That one confused the shit out of me.
Oh,
I just didn't get it.
Then the next one was Final Fantasy 5 and 6. Why didn't you do 3?
Because 3's the bastard child. I don't know, man.
Well, and that's the thing. 3 wasn't like a bad game. They just decided nope. And it's not like you couldn't even argue, because they hadn't translated 3. Well, they hadn't translated 2 or 5 either until they released it on that.
Yeah.
So you can't argue that. Then a few years ago, they remade Final Fantasy III for the DS. And they did it in this really amazing new graphics, and it was all 3D, and it was actually pretty good. Again, they fixed some things. So it was the first time we'd gotten Final Fantasy III. Yay! Then in the exact same style, they re-released Final Fantasy IV. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, are they going to do all of them? I can't wait until they get to 6. No, they just ended with 4.
See, I would love to see the whole series rebooted like that. I think that would have been amazing. Could you imagine playing Final Fantasy 1, but, a little bit better graphically? A little more fun graphically? I mean, I would actually give the shit. Realistically, we give 8 a lot of grief. All of us give 8 a lot of grief. But realistically, 1 and, what was the... There was Final Fantasy something, which is like the most basic RPG on Earth to try to get people into RPGs. Super Nintendo.
Might be talking about
Mystic Quest. Yes, Mystic Quest. Thank you. Realistically, 1 and Mystic Quest were like the absolute worst Final Fantasy of all the Final Fantasies. I would love to see 1 get a fair chance.
No, Final Fantasy 1 was the worst of the Final Fantasies. The original Famicom and NES version were just awful. They had broken mechanics, they had terrible graphics, even, considering they were NES graphics. It was, but this is what drives me crazy about Square Enix, is they do these things that, again, I'm sure there's a business reason, but I just don't get. Please give me the whole thing. Stop putting out a game only for 3 consoles and then not for PC. Another great example, they started putting out all the games on PC, but then they stopped with 12. They didn't put out 12. Why? I just don't get them.
I love the degradation of why, it just kind of as if it was whining off into the nether. Jesus. But you know what? You're making a very valid point. I don't understand their choices. I don't think they're very good business choices. But of course, they're making a lot of money. My biggest problem is that they looked at people buying episodic games. And they went, yeah, Final Fantasy VII. That's what we're going to do, reboot with that one. No, that wasn't the first Final Fantasy VII. Why would we want the reboot episodic? I think we've gotten into this before, but I just have to rehash it. Why would you make that choice? I guess in case the first one flops so badly, the first episode you just drop the whole thing and walk away from it. But with something that is your legacy game, you know?
Yeah, which as a fan of games in general, I have not made it unclear. I am not a huge fan of Final Fantasy VII. But that being said, I would go insane if they released like 3 episodes and then it wasn't doing something and then they just dropped the whole thing. Like, you can't keep doing this.
Right?
I don't understand how they can keep doing it, honestly. Like, I guess I'm the only one that it drives completely crazy. You know, it makes no sense. It just makes no sense.
To me, it doesn't drive me completely crazy because, I mean, look, they went through 1 through 6. When 7 happened, they decided to drop it, change up how the game looked, how the game worked. They did 7 through 9 with that. They dropped it. When they still stuck to turn-based, but they changed how you leveled and stuff like that for 10 and 10-2, which I loved. 11 and 14 we're just going to not discuss because they're MMOs. I don't feel they really fit into the series.
They
have
shouldn't.
nothing.
Yeah, they should not have been a part of the numbered series. But at the time, they were releasing basically 3 games per console generation, and they were running out of time kind of on the PlayStation 2 era, so they released Final Fantasy XI as Final Fantasy XI because they were like, well, we don't have another mainline single-player game ready, so here's Final Fantasy XI. Same thing with Final Fantasy XIV. They didn't have a game ready. There were other problems with that particular game, but
that one was pretty fucked, let's just face it. But yes,
it's better now.
Yeah, exactly. I played. Well, when I can afford it, I played. I love it.
It's really fun now, but when it first came out, oof.
Right. You know, here I want to bring up something that you brought up. Like, you put this up as a topic like a month ago. Because, you know, breaking the fourth wall, everybody. We have a list of topics which we choose from when we go through the podcast. And this is one that he put up close to a month ago, and I think it's a very valid one, and it's one I would love to talk about. Best games of blank. How the hell do people make these lists? And, you know, you brought it up and you put the question down. Is it just opinion? Is there some type of standard? What the hell is it? To me, I would say 95% of it is just opinion, because I saw a list of the best Jokers, and I was like, oh, I can already tell I'm going to get screaming at this one. And I saw it. I'm not joking. Jared Leto was number 2, and I almost threw a chair across the room. Mark Hamill was like 4 or 5. No, it was 5 or 6, one of the two. And I was like, are you kidding me? The definitive Joker.
Was it a list of best Jokers of people that have never seen the Joker before?
Right? I was like, are you kidding me? How the hell? And number 1 was, what's his nuts? The dead guy. What's his name again?
Wow,
Heath
the
Ledger?
dead guy.
Oh, Ledger. Thank you. I can't remember his name. The dead guy. Well, he killed himself. I don't know. He's dead now. The dead guy.
He didn't. Well, sort of.
He's dead. So the dead guy, the Mark, dead guy. What's his name again?
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. Thank you. And he was number 1. I was like, that's just because he's dead. Stop it, fanboys. But see, I was like, how do these lists made? They have to be. I would say easily. I know 95% of statistics are pulled out of your ass on the spot, but 95% of these lists seem like they're all opinions. I mean, how the hell do you get these stats of going, this is the best game of blank? This is the best of blank?
I mean, we kind of covered there is a certain objective good or bad, which means that based on certain elements, like in a movie, you can look to there are good actors and there are bad actors. Mm-hmm. You can dislike an actor, but you have to give credit to, like, for instance, there are plenty of people out there that don't like Tom Cruise. I'm actually one of those people. For the most part, I don't like Tom Cruise. But he is objectively a good actor. He gets involved in the role, blah, blah, blah.
I'm not a huge fan of him either, but the way he played Forrest Gump was fucking outstanding, especially if you read the book.
That was
Tom Hanks.
That was Tom Hanks.
Tom Cruise. Oh, same guy. Tom Cruise is the jumping on Oprah couch guy. Yeah, fuck
there
him.
You go.
Fuck him.
So when it comes to games, I think there is also certain objective things that make a game good. For example, when it comes to the mechanics of the game, does it control well? Like you do, not do you like the controls, but does it control well? Are they smooth? You know, does it make kind of sense? If the answer is yes, then it's good controls, you know. And if the answer to all the different aspects of a game are yes, that is good, then a game is objectively good. But I see, like you said, with the Joker example, I see this all the time where people will make these lists of the best games of 2018, and you can go to 10 different lists, and you might find like 1 or 2 games that always make the list. For example, Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, and I don't know, Dark Souls 3 are going to be on people's number 1 games of whatever lists all the time.
I would say mainly just because those two are two of those are major Nintendo franchises, and people are always like, Nintendo released a new game, we better go buy it because it's got a plumber in it, you know?
It's Nintendo. Let me suck the cock of Nintendo. But when you see the rest of the list, you could get those 10 lists, and all the lists would be different. Like, with the exception of a couple major releases that everybody, you know, and sometimes I wonder, do people put some of these games that are on all the lists on there because they're on all the lists? Like, are these just the popular games, or do they really think they're the best games of whatever?
I would say a lot of it is coattail riding, absolutely. Like such as, once again, the Nintendo thought process of coattail. Like, well, everybody else thought it was a great game, so I better put it on there too. Well, do you really need that? Do you really need to put everything on there? I mean, maybe it's just I get so tired of Nintendo and so tired of it's a plumber, I better go buy this game and play it and say it's the greatest game ever, that I guess I'm a bit opinionated on this, and I'll admit that. But I would say a lot of them are, just because it's on somebody else's list and it's on everybody's list, so I better put it there too. As far as it goes for, like, you know, Dark Souls 3 was the greatest ever because, you know, get good. Well, that's just fanboyism talking. That's just, you know, 100% opinion. Dark Souls 3 was good, but it had some shortcomings and it had some really weird points where you kind of go, why the fuck did you do this? You know,
no poise.
Right? And by the way, I still get into fights all the time on stream about that. There is poise. Just look. I mean, yes, it's turned off, but it's there. Shut up. Rad, you know, I'm looking at you.
It has poise. It's not what you're used to.
Why would you change such a fundamental? Exactly. It's not. Why would you change something so fundamental and not tell?
They tried to make, and I know why they changed it, but the people that argue that it has poise, it's just different. No, they have the old system of poise in there. They just decided we don't like it anymore, so we're turning it off. The way you can prove that is hackers found it and turned it on.
And fight.
Like, you can argue that they went with a different system, and theoretically that's true. I don't know how it works, because my problem with that system, totally getting off topic, I don't care, is that you can't wear Havel's armor and tank anymore. You're basically forced to play the game like Bloodborne.
Yep.
And that's not how I want to play Dark Souls.
That's probably been the biggest problem I had with this game, and that's biggest part of the reason why I actually just kind of wandered away from it and why I stopped playing it, because I'm still in the middle of a playthrough. I really need to finish it because it's been close to 3 or 4 months on stream now I've been playing this freaking game, but I play it for a little bit and just go, ugh, it's just so different. I walk away from it over and over and over again, you know? Like, don't get me wrong.
Me too.
I love Bloodborne. I love Bloodborne. I play Bloodborne, but I play it because it's Bloodborne. It's a totally different type of game. It's different mechanic. It's supposed to be played differently, where Dark Souls, when I walk into it, it's like, well, I know what I'm getting. It's not going to be like, oh, by the way, new game. No! What are you doing? You know? But back to topic that we started 3 hours ago. We do this so much, guys. Seriously.
What was the topic again?
I don't know.
How were best of lists made in general? Is it strictly opinion? Robbie, go.
Yes, it is opinion.
There we go. All right. Yay, Robbie closed out the topic. Thank you. Jesus Christ, guys. Now, I'm going to say something. And I'm going to just step back from the microphone and take my headphones off because I know they're going to explode and probably overload and actually physically explode in my ears. Are we ready? Star Wars.
What about it?
Oh my God, you disappointed me so much, Casual.
Exactly what I wanted to happen happened.
I quit. Fuck this. No, Casual. You've been biting at the bit, chomping at the bit, going, I want to talk about Star Wars. I want to spoil Star Wars. I want to do this about Star Wars. Talk about Star Wars, man.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to say I am not like one of those Star Wars fanboys who reads all the books and consumes all the Star Wars things. I am a person that actually likes multiple things. I like Star Trek as well. I like Stargate. Kind of wish they had continued universe. But
Yeah.
when it comes to Star Wars, I do enjoy the movies. Without spoiling the latest movie, what I am gonna spoil eventually, but without spoiling it, I'm gonna say that I really enjoyed it. I think they did a great job with it. But you cannot make a Star Wars movie anymore without pissing off a large group anymore.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
Here is the thing that a lot of people seem to fail to understand about Star Wars. Star Wars is a kid's project. Now, there are plenty of people that will go, no, it's not! Star Wars, from its very inception, was a fairy tale. Fairy tales are for kids. It even has, at the very opening, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
What's more fantasy than that? Come on now.
How does every fairy tale start? A long time ago in a land far, far away.
And I will... go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm going to back up your statement with one thing and one thing only. You know why I started watching Star Wars? Because it was a fantasy with a whole bunch of lasers and explosions. Why have I stopped watching it? Because I've moved away from fantasies and a whole bunch of explosions.
And that's completely valid. See, here's what happened. When Star Wars came out in 1977, the adults that went to see it, most of them basically said, "Oh, that was a fine time at the theater." The kids that went with their parents went, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing of all time."
Of course, they're hitting a doobie before they walked in, but that's besides the point, you know.
No, I'm talking young kids. Like this was made for tween to teen age, like, age group. These movies were made for, because George Lucas himself said that the reason that he made this, it's based on the old serials he used to watch in the theater before the main movie. He was trying to capture the feel of Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon and all of that type of stuff, which he did in a new way, and it was amazing. Yay. But what the adults now are failing to understand is that Star Wars is still being made for kids, whether they like it or not. Now, that was kind of part of the failing of, failing, they still made tons of money, of the prequel trilogy, is that it was still sort of being made for kids, but then it had all that boring bureaucracy crap.
Yeah.
And that didn't jive. Where some people are hating these new movies, Force Awakens and Last Jedi, is it's, quote, too close to the originals. And this is why I say... Go ahead, Robbie.
I can understand that for the Force Awakens, but I don't think The Last Jedi was that close to the originals.
Yeah, I'll get into that when we talk spoilers, but the point being that this is why you can't make a Star Wars movie anymore. Like, you just can't. You can't expect it to please everyone like the first one did, because there is so much fan-built lore and everything else in this series that the fans want. They want their cake, and they want their cake on the plate, and they want to eat it too. They can't accept that the movies can change, that the movies can be the same. It has to be what they have in their mind, and it just isn't anymore. It's its own thing, and we're going to get one of these every year until the box office drops off. So, good luck.
And personally, I believe Disney is a lot closer to that than they realize.
What, to the box office dropping off?
To people having Star Wars fatigue.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. The more they do the same story over and over again and set in the same portion of the universe, the faster it's going to happen. And we're getting another one set in the same portion with Han Solo. Supposedly they want to do a Jabba the Hutt movie. Like, go somewhere else.
Hutt?
I know you say that, but allow me to give you an idea for a Jabba the Hutt movie that I think could work. The Godfather.
Which they already did. It's called The Godfather.
I know that. But I'm just saying, like, for those that aren't into crime stories and stuff, they could basically retell The Godfather, but with Jabba the Hutt, and it could be interesting.
They would have to work really hard to do that, I think. To really make it something.
I mean, those are two totally different genres of movies that you're trying to slam into one. I mean, that would be you have your work cut out for you, you know?
No, you're thinking in terms of sci-fi as a genre that can't do other things. You can have detective stories in sci-fi. You can have a western in sci-fi. Technically, the Star Wars movies kind of are a western.
Space Cowboys.
Yeah, you can
Cowboys and Aliens. I'm sorry.
That was actually a fun movie. It wasn't good, but it was fun. But all of that being said, it's time to talk about why people hate The Last Jedi and why I actually really loved it.
Because Luke was a dickhead. That's all I've heard.
Pork, isn't it?
Yeah, there will be spoilers ahead.
That's all I've heard on the net everywhere. Luke is a dickhead. Just a jackass.
He's a grumpy old man.
Sort of. So here's the thing. The movie breaks convention constantly. It takes all of your expectations, which these movies have this kind of set up lore with all the different characters, and they have this whole thing where they, this person is related to that person, and this person is attached to that person, and how did these people interact with this person? This movie takes all of that and throws it in your face and says, it doesn't matter. Literally, one of the characters says it doesn't matter. Yeah. Rey is no one.
Yeah. I actually really liked that.
So did I. I loved it. Now, there's, you also kind of have to go with who said she's no one. It might not be as true as we think, but that's for the next movie to go into. The big evil whatever, he's unimportant. Like, all of the theories about who is Snoke. Spoilers, it doesn't matter. He's dead.
Oh,
So
okay.
I have a bit of
go ahead,
contention about him dying though. Like, not the fact that he died, but like, okay, so he got a lightsaber through the side of his body, and it came out the front of him. I don't understand why the top half of his body fell off the chair, because he wasn't fully cut in half. He was only halfway cut in half.
If anything, he was
And if
just
he-
stabbed through the middle.
Yeah, if he fell off the chair, his legs would have fallen off with the top of his body.
Yeah,
That bothered me.
there's some continuity issues there. I agree. Like, he wasn't really bifurcated. He was just stabbed, and then suddenly in the next scene he was bifurcated, but whatever.
You're starting to sound like me debating Final Fantasy with Aerith's death. You know, going, she really wasn't dead. She was just in shock.
Well,
What the hell are you doing, Cloud?
It's kind of the same thing. Like, you just have to accept that it was a director that wanted to do his own thing.
Yeah.
Now, that was
was-
actually part of the problem, is that the director that made this movie was given... J.J. Abrams did the first one. Not the very first one, obviously. He did Force Awakens. In Force Awakens, he was paying so much homage to the Star Wars lore and the previous trilogy. Well, not the previous trilogy. Damn you, Lucas, and your episode numbering madness. He was paying so much homage to the original trilogy that many a fan said it was too close. It was like a redo of the original trilogy, which they're not wrong. Then we get this movie, and some people are saying it's a completely new movie. It kind of isn't. It has a lot of the same beats as Empire.
Okay, well, here's my question. As fans of this movie, because I'll never go to see it, because as I pointed out, I just stopped caring. Is that really so bad to continue on the story? Because I remember people were obsessed with 4, 5, and 6. They were obsessed. Is that such a bad thing to continue the story in 7 of 6?
I mean, there's continuing the story, then there's making the same movie shot for shot.
Is it basically
That's well, it's not, but it is. When it comes to the basic beats of the story, it's the exact same story. Like the hero's tale. Now, you can also argue that the original is just the hero's tale. It follows almost like it's a script in itself. There's this thing called the hero's tale. You can Google it. And Lucas followed this beat for beat. And in Force Awakens, they followed the same concept. The problem is they did other things that were too similar to the original, like having another Death Star and another this and another that. Now, what they did different with this latest movie that I really enjoyed, because again, it does follow a lot of the same beats as The Empire Strikes Back. There's a weird hallucinogenic cave moment. There's a fight in the snow that's not really snow, it's salt. There's
That was for the salty fans.
Well, there's a scene. This is the stupidest thing they could have done, in my opinion. They go to this planet that's covered in white. It looks like it's snow. In order to get away from fans saying, "Oh, it's Hoth again," there is a character who literally picks up some of what we think is snow, tastes it, and goes, "Salt." Like,
Mother of God.
like, okay, whatever. Who cares? It can be snow. It can be salt. I don't give a crap.
You know what this reminds me of?
But
What you guys are talking about? This reminds me of BioShock Infinite. where they were trying so hard to remind people the exact opposite, that this is a BioShock game. So they kept putting BioShock references from BioShock 1 and 2 in it over and over and over again, and almost forcing down through going, this is a BioShock game. Where this one, it's going, we swear this isn't Hoth. I swear, look, this is Salt.
Yes, and that's it. Kind of broke me in that moment of my immersion too, because as soon as he did that, I was like, as he was picking it up and putting it in his mouth, I was like, oh my god, he is not going to tell the audience, and he just told the audience it's Salt. For fuck's sake! But that being said, the things that it broke away from convention with. Like, for instance, Ray being no one and killing off a major villain that everybody was predicting was, like, somebody important. These are the things that I liked. And yes, Luke Skywalker is a jackass. Allow me to explain.
Is he just so old and been through so much shit? He's like, get off my lawn, you old fuck.
They go into it. Like, they explain it, and it makes perfect sense once as it's explained. But allow me to explain. In the first, I want to say 5 minutes of the movie, he's, at the end of the last one, they do this long, protracted, way too long in my opinion, scene where Rey climbs these steps and she... Like they spend like 10 minutes of the movie doing this whole long thing where Rey offers him his lightsaber. And she's standing there with her arm out at the end of the movie, and then it cuts to black. The end. Star Wars credits. Oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. What happens next? She hands him the lightsaber at the beginning of this movie. He looks at it for 3 seconds and tosses it over his shoulder.
That made me laugh so hard.
I loved it. But here's the problem. That is indicative of what this movie was to a lot of the fans who adore the interconnected lore that the previous movies have set up. It was basically like saying, like going to a fan that loves the interconnected lore, slapping them in the face and saying, fuck you, we don't care about your lore anymore. There will be no interconnections. All of what you care about doesn't matter to us. We're pooping right in your face. Have fun.
To me, I guess that just destroys Star Wars. The whole point of Star Wars was this robust, amazing story.
Well, it's not the story that's being thrown in their face. It's the interconnection. Like every movie, the whole prequel trilogy was about how what was this character? Oh, this is where Boba Fett came from. Oh, look, there's Jabba the Hutt. Oh, remember this? And this movie takes all of that, throws it out, and says, we're doing something new. Now, I loved the fact that they're doing something new. I thought that everything that they did to basically say, no, this isn't the story we're telling. We're telling a new story now in this universe. I loved it. It's just most of the fans didn't.
So in a way, it's you like when they do it to movies, but you don't like it so much when they do it to video games where they just throw everything out and restart?
Well, no, I'm talking about when they throw the entire mechanics of the game that I just got used to out. Like, you can tell a brand new story and still use the same mechanics.
True.
Far Cry 4 and Far Cry 3 are two completely different games, but they use the same mechanics.
Okay.
Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2 use completely new mechanics, and they tell a new story, which, whatever.
Yeah.
That's Final Fantasy. But but I enjoyed what they did with the latest movie. The problem now becomes that let's assume for a moment that they have no plan for these movies, which a lot of people are assuming, that they're being made up on the fly. I don't think they are as much as people think. I think they do have a plan, but let's assume they don't. What the director did with the last movie, with Jedi, is he basically took everything that J.J. Abrams, who clearly is a super fan of Star Wars, and he threw it all out. Now J.J. Abrams is doing the 9th movie. He's going to have to work off of what they did with Jedi, with Last Jedi. He's going to have to either do the exact same thing, which means basically rebuilding from the ground up for a 3rd time, or they do have a plan, and we as the viewer just don't know what it is, and he's going to take it from where it was left off and go in whatever direction it goes.
I suppose, but, you know.
Mostly done with spoilers.
I'm looking at the ginger-haired guy. I don't like the way he looks.
So we're done with spoilers, you think?
I will say one thing. One thing that I really loved about the movie was the memes, especially Ben Swallow.
Wait, what?
Okay, so there's a scene in the movie where Kylo Ren has his shirt off. And he kind of has his trousers just above his belly button, so his torso looks really freaking wide.
Mm-hmm.
So people, because his name's Ben Solo, people started calling him Ben Swallow.
Yeah, it was definitely a for the fans of half-naked men moment. Like, there's no reason for him to be shirtless in the scene other than well, okay, there is sort of a reason. There's a joke. So Rey and him have this connection, and because of their connection, they can see each other when they have visions or something. It's weird.
Okay.
And at this point in the story, she's connected to him, and he's shirtless. And in the middle of their big dramatic moment, because there's a lot of that too. There's a lot of jokes undercutting scenes.
Yeah.
And in this moment, the joke is that she stops. They're having this big drama moment, and she stops in the middle, and she says, "Can you please put a shirt on?" It was for the joke.
Yeah, it was fun.
And also for the ladies and the homosexual men.
Yeah, I love it because there's another scene in the movie where Luke Skywalker's going around the island doing different things. One of the things is he gets this green milk from this boob alien.
Oh!
It's like I don't know, it's the only way I can describe it is it's like a fat guy with a giraffe neck, and the tits are where the crotch is, and he milks it for some green milk. There's a meme where, a little comic where he milks Kylo Ren's nipples for the green milk.
Jesus Christ.
Gotta love the internet.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, no!
And the non-meme thing that I really loved about the movie is that hyperjump scene. Probably one of the best looking scenes I've seen in a Star Wars film for a while.
I thought we were done spoilering, but I have to go into the plot now, because you just reminded me, Robbie, of the main plot. So, most of the movies, they have these planet-hopping plots, and they do whatever they do. Well, the plot of this movie is a slow chase, like when the cops were chasing OJ, for the entire movie.
Wait, really?
So
Police
okay.
chasing space.
Yes. So the Empire is chasing down the quote the last of the rebels, or whatever they're called.
The Resistance.
The Resistance, and they're not the Empire either. They're the First Order. Anyway, the Empire is chasing the rebels. It's supposedly the last of the rebels. They're going to kill them all, and so the rebels go into hyperspace, and they jump, and they say, "Woo, we got away." Then immediately the Empire appears, and they're like, "Ha ha, we found you." And they say, "Oh no, we only have enough fuel for one more jump. But if we jump, they'll just find us again." Which, by the way, all of this is the plot of the very first episode of Battlestar Galactica remake. So they say, we can't use our one jump. We have to figure out another plan. And then it's a slow chase. Now, right away, all you can think about if you're an analytical person, is why doesn't the First Order just use their other hyperjump, because I'm sure they're not out of fuel, and go in front of them?
Well,
like,
maybe they didn't know where
hyperjumps
they
is
were going, or
I mean, can you?
If they did go
hyperjump
forward,
for
wouldn't
short
they hit
distances?
their ships like they did later in the movie? Wouldn't that happen?
Well, no.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, let's assume for a moment that because they're rebels, they only have the one fuel thing left. But the First Order, they've got big, brand new spanking ships. They're like, they got money to burn, so they probably have about 6 hyperjumps. Go up, go left, go down. Now you're in front of them.
I don't know.
Woo, 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 done. It's hyperspace. It doesn't take that much time to get in front of them. So let's just leave that aside. That's not my problem, though. The slow chase I was fine with. My problem was there's an entire subplot that doesn't affect anything. Like, the main crux of the story is the whole Luke and the Jedi thing and the First Order chasing the last of the rebels. That's the main story.
Yeah.
Then there's crap, I really
Finn.
don't want to call him. Thank you. I was about to call Finn the black guy. That sounds so bad. Anyway, Finn goes off on this subplot with I can't remember her name. Yeah, she's brand new, so I can call her the Asian girl. Anyway, he goes off on this subplot with her to do a thing that has no effect on anything at the end of the day.
They go
Other than
to do
other
a
than
thing that can't do anything to them by the time they get back.
Right. It honestly, it makes even less sense with the slow chase, because you're telling us that they're going off to another planet in a hyperspace ship, but why can't you just all get into smaller ships and leave? And they go into that sort of, and it's kind of a broken plot, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's still a good movie, though.
Yeah, and like the whole thing, like I was saying before about the hyperspace jump or whatever the fuck it's called in Star Wars, I can never remember.
Yeah, it's hyperspace.
Yeah, but that scene where they do escape on the little ships, they're being attacked, and the one person that's left on their main cruiser turns the ship around, aims it at their main flagship, and then hyper jumps. I thought that was fucking awesome. I don't care what anyone says, that was my favorite part of the movie.
It was
visually fucking stunning. And the way it's like the entire movie goes silent, there's a flash of light, and then the main cruiser is just split in half. It's fucking beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
To explain what happens, so they're in this slow chase. They are running low on their main fuel, and they only have one hyperspace jump. Think of it like FTL.
Okay.
You got fuel for jumps, and then you have just other type of fuel that gets you through space normally. So at a certain point, they send shuttles with the rebels off to a planet, and the entire plan is that. And, we didn't know that. And there's, again, another subplot that kind of didn't make sense with Poe. But what happens is the Empire starts shooting at these smaller ships. Now, what they do is awesome, but why didn't they do it sooner? That's all I'll say about that.
I don't know. I assume because... Well, I'm just making an assumption. I think the main cruiser was destroyed when it smashed through there.
No, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, they launch, let's say, 30 shuttles.
Oh yeah, the shuttle pods. Yeah,
and then once the Empire starts targeting the shuttles, because the idea was that they're so small they can't be seen, but then they notice them and they start killing the smaller shuttles. Yeah. Once they start killing the smaller shuttles, like immediately they should have. Oh, they've destroyed one of our shuttles. Okay, I'm going to turn this ship around and ram them. They don't. They watch like 13 or 14 shuttles get destroyed first, and then they're like, oh, maybe now we should do this thing that we were kind of going to do in the first place. It kind of, like, there are moments that you just, as a person who analyzes film, you like wonder why. But that being said, that was an awesome scene. The only issue I have is that Carrie Fisher is real life dead.
Yeah.
She died during the filming of this movie. And all the stuff that surrounded her death was about Star Wars and what her place in the 9th movie would be. The producers, the directors, everybody involved has said multiple times since her death, she will not be used in the final movie.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to, like...
disrespect.
What do you call it? Yeah, they don't want to disrespect her memory. They don't want to, like, CGI her, and people really didn't like her CGI in Rogue One, so they were basically running off of popular opinion. We're not going to do that.
Say, like, the mistake they made with that one Empire commander where they CGI'd him in after he was dead?
Oh,
yeah,
Grandma.
like nobody liked that.
Well, they found a guy that looked extremely similar. They're like, well, we found him. Now we just need to, like, with computers, make him look like Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, it comes down to, you know, how much time. It comes down to respect and like creepy factor. Mm-hmm. Like it gets creepy. So here's the problem I had. When they rammed the ship, the idea is that both ships are gone. Like the one ship rammed into the other, they went into hyperspace, and just both ships are annihilated now. Awesome scene. That could have been Leia's sacrifice.
Yeah.
But they gave it to that other person.
But they gave it to a
have it
brand new character that we've never seen before, that we kind of don't know, that they didn't invest me in. So I don't even care that she died. Like, I'm looking at her going, meh. Whereas if they had given it to Leia, then A, I give a huge crap. I'm like, oh my God, no! And B, it writes her out of having to be in the next movie, whereas they didn't. Now they've got to figure out a new way to write her out of the next movie.
I mean, the spoilers again, but they had an out. Like they had a scene in the movie where she could have died, but then she does a weird Superman thing.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. They had, which I liked it.
I didn't.
I liked it because, as a person who does enjoy the Star Wars lore, to at least for the movies, I like the fact that with her and Luke in this movie, they showed just how powerful a Jedi can be. Like, in fact, and Yoda. Like, oh my God, if he can do that from the grave, what the hell is stopping, like, him from whatever? But anyway.
Now, you guys want to hear a really ignorant view when it comes to the storyline? I remember watching through I remember that at the end of this 6th one, episode 6, the Empire was done for. They're back in the 7? I thought like they would have created something brand new.
No, really. No.
It's well, that's the problem. Technically, it is new. It's not the Empire. It's the First Order.
But it's basically the Empire.
It's kind of like the difference between the Nazis and the neo-Nazis. They're the same guys. They just have a different name.
Okay, sounds good. Well, there is drastic difference between the two. Okay, anyway, yes. Okay, I see what you mean.
you see what I mean?
Yes,
it's and that was most people's problem with Force Awakens. Is it was just like, we changed the name, we put a new flag up. It's pretty much the same as the old flag, but it has more little doodads on it.
Going from the Republic to the Empire, and then the Empire to the First Order, it's all the
same. I suppose, for the Republic to the Empire, good point.
I thought it was interesting how in each of the 3 movies of this trilogy, they're killing off like the main 3. I just thought Carrie would be in this one.
I felt like the way they did away with Luke was awesome, though.
I liked it, but I was expecting it for the next movie, not this one.
Yeah, I think that, and I have a suspicion that part of the reason that they I think that's how they explain her. Like, if I am writing the next movie and I am trying to get rid of Carrie Fisher's character because we can't have Carrie Fisher, I am writing her out as having died in her sleep. Like, in between movies, she, like, the first thing you open with in episode 9 is a funeral for her and her brother.
It would make sense.
And you have a third character explain, like, when her brother went, she couldn't go on any longer. She had done her part. You know, it kind of makes sense, even though we don't want to talk about the prequels. Her mother died in a similar fashion. Like, she just couldn't go on. So, like, there's still some interconnections they could do, and, you know, ways to get around it. My biggest worry is that they're not going to do that, and they're just going to, like, oh, she's back on Tatooine living her life while we do the rest of these movies, and we're never going to mention her again.
Do you really think they would do that, though? I mean, do you really think instead of doing an honor to her and, you know, because her character is so pivotal, pivotal to the story, do you really think they'd write her up by going, she just went off to live her life in happiness?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Because it's a fairy tale.
I suppose.
And they all lived happily ever after.
You know,
like, at the end of the day, it is a fairy tale, and currently nobody's living happily ever after. That's the other thing that a lot of fans seem to be having something against this new trilogy is Han Solo had a crappy marriage. He left his wife. His kid went bad.
Real life,
his
so.
best friend went off to be a hermit. His wife is forcibly, in some ways, leading the new rebellion. Like, she kind of probably doesn't want to do this again. Like it's a fairy tale, but that's the problem now. It's not a fairy tale. Like you said, it's like real life.
Jesus Christ. My life in Star Wars. No, I'm joking. No, but I don't know, man. Once again, I have been emotionally evacuated this movie years upon years ago, and I'm done with it. So I think I'm just tired. You know, I think we've said most we could say about this movie, correct?
I mean, at the end of the day, what I will say is it's going to not be your expectations. It's going to go against most of your expectations, which I think is a good thing. I also think it's a good movie, but if you are just expecting, you know, more of the same, you might not like it as much.
Well, that's along the same exact thing when it comes to movies that you're expecting something from, and you find out you're going to get the exact opposite. And complete segue that's very awkward. There's one I really want to talk about. That's
awkward segues on the Odd Pod? No!
That's Spawn. We know I'm a rabid Spawn fan. I love it.
I actually didn't know that.
Really? Oh, yeah. I thought we talked about this in the past. I love Spawn. Spawn's so cool. And I found out something in the new upcoming Spawn flick, which I'm really upset with Todd about. The fact that Spawn's not going to be talking at all. What? Todd! The hell are you doing, man?
In case you don't know what he's talking about, Spawn is a character from the 90s that was created at the time when every character had to be just completely badass and anti-hero and guns and stuff. And Spawn, as a concept, to me is awesome. Like, the idea that... Because Spawn did not shy away from things about faith and religion. It didn't I'm not sure it did him entirely well either, but what I liked about it is it treated like heaven. You don't go to heaven because you're good. You don't go to hell because it's fair.
Yeah.
You there's certain things that it dealt with that were really interesting. And then it had the whole thing about, he made a deal with the devil and the devil screwed him. Oh my word, really? Are you really shocked? And it did some really neat things in at least in the first few issues of the comic. Later on, well, I mean, it was a comic.
I'll give you that later on. It started to get itself a bit dried out.
The first movie we got,
it visually was so cool.
Go.
Visually, the movie was amazing. It looked awesome. Why the hell they used the kid from the Pest as Clown is beyond me. Have you ever seen Okay, say
John
if you've
Leguizamo.
seen it. Oh, that's what his name. Thank you. Yeah, who here has actually seen Spawn?
I have.
I've seen Spawn.
You've seen the movie, Robbie? Have you seen it?
Maybe in the 90s. If I have, I can't remember.
Oh, okay. It was really visually perfect, and why they used that kid is beyond me. Because, well, I guess if you want,
I love how you call him a kid. He's older than you are.
He sounds like a kid. He sounds and looks like a kid, dude. Like this guy's never. Okay, excuse me. This guy's never gonna grow up mentally. I swear to Christ. Well, I can't say much myself either. But
he was the mechanic in John Wick.
He was also Luigi in Super Mario Brothers. Oh my God!
I'm sure everybody involved in that wants to forget that one.
But yeah,
Even Bob Hoskins, and he's dead.
Wait, what? He is?
Yeah, Bob Hoskins died a few years ago.
No, Luigi.
No, but the guy who played Mario's dead. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Shit. Okay.
He's
I
in
would
the
say,
big
okay,
spaghetti in the sky.
how's this for a crappy ending?
He's in the big spaghetti in the sky. I hate you, Ryan, so much. I love you, but I fucking hate you. Go ahead, Rat.
Well, okay. How about we just move on then?
I'm sorry, go ahead. That was
It literally like completely ruined what I was going to say, but that's all right.
Oh. Are you sure he can't continue it? Because I'm sorry, I couldn't help but cackle at that.
Okay, well, I'll just speed through it then. Bob Hoskins, we all know him from Roger Rabbit as Eddie Valiant.
Yep.
For somebody like that, his last movie was Snow White and the Huntsman.
Wait, what? Really?
How's that for a shitty end to a Hollywood career?
It's not the only shitty end. For example, what's his face from the Addams Family movies, who played Gomez Addams?
Raul Julia, his last movie was Street Fighter.
His last movie was Street Fighter.
Oh shit! You're right, huh?
You don't get to choose your last movie sometimes.
Oi. I forgot that was an awful movie too, man.
I don't know what you guys are
It
talking about.
was.
That's leaving on a high point. I don't know what you're talking about.
Robbie.
So, if you rewatch Spawn, you say that visually it was stunning. In some ways it was. In others it was very 90s.
Well, okay, I'm looking at it from the point of view of a 90s movie where they were at in that point of technologically. And graphically.
That was kind of the problem is, and I just Like, it's funny you should bring this up, because I just watched an interview with Todd McFarlane and Jai White, Jai White? No.
Michael J. White.
Michael Jai White, that's it. He played the title character of Spawn.
Oh, him, okay.
And Todd McFarlane created it. Now, in that, they were talking about what happened with that production. So, first of all, Spawn should have been rated R.
Oh, yeah.
But it was the 90s, and R-rated movies were being looked at as a dying trend, and basically PG-13 had become the king of all movies because PG-13 sells the most tickets, because you get the widest demographic from a PG-13 movie. So they had to make it PG-13, and at the time, apparently the MPAA, Motion Picture Association of America, was basically run by what amounts to clergy. And considering that Spawn had so much religious content, they kept pushing it back, saying, this is R-rated for this is R-rated for that, this is R-rated for the other. And they had to recut the movie like 1 million times. They had to put things in that maybe they didn't want to. For example, there's a small child and a dog in that movie. Todd McFarlane and Michael Jai White both have said that was awful. Like, working with the dog and children, as is a trend in Hollywood in general, is a terrible experience. And they were put in there to soften the movie.
Really?
It's
Jesus.
Spawn. You shouldn't be softening Spawn.
Right? I mean, with the story about, like, when we talk about backstory, Spider-Man's been told 1.5 million times. Batman's been told 1.5 million times. But not many people knew Spawn, especially at that point. So I didn't have a problem with telling the backstory and, maybe it's him having to see his family moving on and shit like that. I was fine with that. But beyond that, he could have moved the fuck away. I wouldn't have been that upset if they would have showed his battle with Satan and how he tried to regain himself and stuff like that. I would have been totally fine with it. But they, like you said, they decided to soften it up and they decided to make it look at PG-13. No, it's Spawn. It's supposed to be bloody. It's supposed to be mean. It's supposed to be pure R-rated wonderfulness, you sons of bitches.
And that's what they're planning to do with the new one.
And that's why I have hope. But then I hear about this where apparently Todd McFarlane doesn't want Spawn to have any spoken lines.
Well, okay. You have that problem, and I'm not disagreeing. I think that's kind of weird. But I have a different problem with because I knew they were making a new Spawn movie and that it's going to be a, quote, hard R, which means violence and probably boobs and swearing, boobs. Whatever. But here's the problem I have with the movie after watching this interview. My problem is Todd McFarlane, who is the creator, is writing and directing.
I know you have a problem with this. I haven't had that big of a problem with this so far.
Todd McFarlane is a comic book writer. He has not directed anything ever. He doesn't... Like, when I say this often, you have to divorce yourself from the previous medium when you go into a new medium.
Oh yeah, I understand. I do.
And there's a reason that film directors are film directors. They know what they're doing. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to end up bad. For example, I actually really enjoyed the first Sin City movie, and that was co-directed by Frank Miller, who created the comic. Not everybody liked that movie, but I thought it was not only true to the source material, but it was well made, in my opinion.
I agree, Casual.
So we could get another one of those. Like, this could end up being just a spectacular, like, wow, this is so good. but I have to go on track record, and every time somebody comes in new to something that they've never done before, they often don't do it well.
I would also add on to that, your Sin City example. Notice how he said co-directed by Frank Miller.
Yeah.
It was Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez.
Yes,
Robert Rodriguez is a well-established film director, and in fact, they actually had to leave the Directors Guild because the Directors Guild was not going to give something. It's union stuff, but anyway.
But the overall point is, Frank Miller didn't do the whole thing by himself because he knew better, probably.
Right.
Well, do you think a lot of this is maybe Farland going, fuck it, I don't want to have to give anymore. I don't want to say, look at another person and go, take my baby and fuck it up again. I'm going to do justice this time.
Or is it McFarlane saying, hey, I'm still relevant, I'm still here?
I don't think it's that, because Todd McFarlane is one of those rarities in the comic book world. He is rich. Like, he did it right, just like George Lucas. He merchandised the crap out of Spawn.
I had a lot of the Spawn merchandise.
And he created an entire, like, toy industry. He's not just a comic book guy anymore. He does, like, toys, he does comics, he does, other things. But that being said, he's never... And allow me to point back to my Frank Miller thing. Frank Miller had done movies before. He just hadn't directed. He had written RoboCop 2. He knew the industry to a certain degree. Todd McFarlane doesn't know the industry the way that I think somebody that is doing their first movie should.
Yeah. I mean, do you think there's a chance that he... I'm mad. I can't help but think that he at least did some studying and has some footing to go. Yeah, fuck it, let's do it. Because there's a company, there's a movie company going. Yeah, here, have our money and make the movie. I mean, this is like we know he's producing it too. Never mind shit. I take it back. He's writing it, producing it, and directing it. All three.
And
never mind.
Yeah,
I thought he was someone else producing it.
We mentioned with the whole DC thing, there's sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen. Well, there's the other one. There's wearing too many hats.
Okay.
I have a suspicion that this is going to be a case of wearing too many hats.
Does anyone remember the solo Batman movie that was supposed to happen?
Yeah.
It was literally going to be Ben Affleck in every single spot on the credits.
And now Ben Affleck might not be on any spot of the credits. We still don't know. Good job, DC.
Honestly, real quick on that, I loved Affleck as Batman. He played great Bruce Wayne, and not even better, but equally good Batman. Which I was expecting Batfleck to be shit, where Wayne to be amazing, but he blew me away. He surprised me, and I can't help but applaud him every time I see him do anything with it.
Although I will say, much like a comment I made in your stream when you were playing Arkham Knight, is he Batman or Bulkman? He's swole, yo.
Yeah, he is. I will say that Affleck is incredibly buff in this one, but that he was supposed to be. They built it up because he's going to battle Superman. He has to.
Well,
be strong.
Yeah, they were also basing it on both the Arkham series as well as the Dark Knight comic, which in those comics he was swole. So
he's also like what, 80?
Definitely not 80, more like 45, 50.
No, I think in Dark Knight Returns he was like retirement age, 65.
Yeah, in the Dark Knight he was like 50 or 60. In the Dark Knight Returns, I think he was like pushing 70. The comics, obviously, we're not talking about movies or games.
Yeah.
But all of that being said, do I think Spawn will succeed? I'm iffy.
I hope so. I hope it does, because me being a rabid Spawn fan, I hope it does, because it'll give me something it'd be so satisfying after getting screwed in the first movie to be able to go, look, finally, one of my favorite comic book characters got a good one, kind of like Deadpool. Finally, a good one.
I will say this: the fact that they're pushing the hard R is good. Yeah. I like that idea. Now, you say that he's said he doesn't want Spawn to talk at all. Now, things change, so that might change at some point. But what I will also say is, what if he doesn't talk for most of the movie? In the sense that maybe there's voiceover?
Oh, like internal monologue?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be so bad then. That would not be so bad.
Or an alternate. What if he doesn't talk for most of the movie, but at the end he says a line? Obviously it has to either be a very funny line or a very poignant line, but I'm just saying there's ways to do it. We just,
True.
It does worry me the same way it worries you.
And his one line has to be voiced by Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh my God, my puckering nipples!
At the end of the movie, he just looks at the audience and goes, JK.
Now, I will also say this. There was a limited animated series on HBO back when Spawn was a much bigger deal. That's actually really good.
Oh, if you haven't seen it, folks, I suggest you go watch it. It is so good.
Unfortunately, it didn't make whatever they needed it to do financially. I don't even know how that works with HBO and Showtime, but so they didn't continue it. But it's only like 6 episodes, so it's not like a huge time investment. They're each about 40-some minutes long. If you want to know what the hell Spawn is, don't read the comics. Just go get that HBO series. You can rent it probably. You can buy it, whatever. It's probably not very expensive.
The entire show is on a single YouTube video.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. It's great, but unfortunately it was short. I wish it could have done better because damn it, was it good.
But it absolutely captures Spawn in the way like it's a great primer to see if you give a crap about Spawn. You watched like the first episode. If you're not interested after the first episode, you're probably not interested. If you are interested, watch the rest of the series. If you like more of it, then go check out the comics. See if you want, don't watch the old movie. It does not hold up.
Once again, if you want to see a great visual representation of Clown, of Spawn, of Christ, what was his name? I feel like a terrible Spawn fan.
If you're talking about the old man, nobody remembers his name, so you're not a terrible Spawn fan.
Okay, but visually great representations, but oh my fucking shit, was it a badly done movie, guys? I wanted to get into another topic, but I think we're gonna have to save it for next week because we're running out of time. Because, we are totally on air with a producer looking at us going, wrap it up! But we've been going for a while, so I think it's about time for us to wrap it up. Thank you guys for swinging in. Ryan, thank you very much for swinging in for a few with us and, actually spending some time with us. Boys, who have you been?
I'm Robbie, and welcome to 2018.
I am Red, and next person.
I am Casually Challenged, and Rad broke me.
Ryan, bye.
That was probably the best. You know what? I want to give Ryan the crowning cap of outros for today. He's like, I'm Ryan. Fuck off. I'm done. And I've been Stacey Kruger. Thank you so much for swinging in, guys. I will see each and every one of you beautiful people who are listening to us right now next time.